we want to look at another area where geometry and algebra come together. Here, they come together in what are called right triangles. And perhaps you took a geometry class, may have been recently, may have been not so recently. But if you remember, a right triangle is a triangle where two of the sides, as they intersect, they make a right angle. And if you remember what a right angle is an angle whose measurement is 90 degrees. In this right triangle, the side that is opposite the right angle, opposite the 90-degree angle, is called the hypotenuse, if I can spell it correctly. And each of the other two sides are called a leg of the right triangle. What's very interesting about right triangles is if you know the measurements. Let's say, for example, the measurement of this side of the right triangle, this leg is 6 units, and the measurement of this leg is 8 units, and the measurement of the hypotenuse is 10. There's always an interesting relationship between the lengths of the sides of a right triangle. The square of the hypotenuse is always equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. And we can illustrate that here with this specific example. 10 squared is 100. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. And it is true that 36 plus 64 equals 100. This relationship between the sides of a right triangle is always true. The length of the side opposite the right angle, again that was called the hypotenuse, the square of that length is always equal to the sum of the squares of the two legs. In fact, if we take just a general right triangle, the side opposite the right angle is always labeled with the letter C, and the legs are labeled with the letters A and B. And the algebraic relationship that we always have with a right triangle, no matter what type of shape it might have, how long or how short the legs or the hypotenuse are, it's always true that C squared, the side opposite the right angle, the hypotenuse, is equal to A squared plus B squared. This truth is attributed to have been discovered by a Greek mathematician. In fact, it's sometimes called the theorem of Pythagoras, or as we like to say in this country, Pythagoras. But my Greek grandfather said the correct way to pronounce his name would have been Pythagoras. And I guess I would take the word of my Greek grandfather over folks here in this country, the way we sometimes mispronounce names of foreigners. So the theorem of Pythagoras says if you have a right triangle, the square of the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is the side opposite the right angle, the square of the hypotenuse is always going to be equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides.